Hello, I'm David Peel. This is the Week 6 project for the Hardware Technician Capstone class. I will be rebuilding my own computer. For the computer that I'm building for the class, a few of the parts are different. The motherboard, it's a LGA 1155 socket, which this also is. It's got dual video cards, which this has a single, and the motherboard doesn't support single. I have in the class build a solid state hard drive, which I do not have in my current computer. And also I've left the power supply in because I don't have any thermal paste to put the heatsink back in. So the processor is still in there, but I will be building around it. Okay, so I'm going to start with the power supply, and this is an 850 watt Thermaltake modular power supply, and modular means that I can disconnect the wires at will. So I only connect the wires that I need, and this will help improve airflow. And I already have the wires connected that I need for the computer. So I will put this in here. Like so. And move all these cables out here so they're out of the way for right now. And then the power supply is just 4 screws in the back, and you just line up the holes and screw them in. And we'll just do 2 real fast right now, and then move on to the next part, and I'll add those in later. And the only tool that I will be using for this build is a small Phillips screwdriver. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is insert my optical drive, and this is just a SATA DVD RW. And I'll put this in through the front. I've got a hole up here for it. And it just slides in, goes on the rails. Once again, for right now, I'm just going to put these 2 screws in, and I'll connect the 2 on the other side later. Make sure this is flush before I tighten the screws down. And next, I will be installing my hard drives. This is a Western Digital 500 gigabyte hard drive, and this is the hard drive that my operating system is currently on. And put it down here, slide it into the bay, and be careful only to touch the sides. And there we go. Alright, and the next hard drive is a Seagate 500 gig hard drive. These are both SATA, by the way, and both 7200 RPM. And this is just a drive for extra space. And the class build, I will have the 128 gigabyte Western Digital, Seagate solid state drive, and the operating system will be installed on that by itself. And that will help with faster loads, faster boot up times. So I've got both hard drives installed. Now I'm going to install my RAM. This motherboard only has two DIMM slots in it. These are both 4 gigabyte Patriot memory, DDR3. And to install the RAM, make sure the clips are open, just slide it down in the spots, and you just push until the clips go in. On the class build, we'll actually have 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I've also chosen Patriot RAM for that. And next, I'll install my video card. In the class build, I have dual GTX 680s. This is actually a GTX 550 NVIDIA. This motherboard only supports one video card, PCI Express X16. The motherboard that I've picked for the class actually has 3 PCI Express X16 slots, so it can hold up to 3 video cards. And I'll just put this right down here, slide it into the slot, and then just push down until the clip goes up. And then with these bigger video cards, you have to kind of push them against the side to get the screw to go in. They don't quite line up right. Screw this down, make sure the video card doesn't come unseated. Alright. If I were installing dual video cards, this does not have an SLI adapter or a SLI slot on it. Normally, if it has SLI, it'll have a little printed circuit board right here, and you just install a bridge clip between the 2 video cards, or 3 video cards if that's what you have. So next, I will move on to hooking all the cables up. I had left my LED lights, hard drive LED and power LED, and the power switch and reset switch connected because I don't have the documentation for this motherboard with me. So I didn't want to mess up where they're at because it's not labeled on the motherboard. So I'm going to start with 24-pin power connector to the motherboard. And this has got a little notch on it on the back, and you just match that up with the notch here. Can you see this? Okay. You just match it up with the notch here, and then push down until it snaps. And then these are 4-pin CPU power connectors. And if the motherboard were to have an 8-pin connector, these just snap together, so you've got yourself an 8-pin connector. This actually only requires a 4-pin, so you just snap them apart. And then once again, you just line up the holes. There's one that's a square hole, and the others kind of have a D shape to them. So you just find that square hole, and then push it until it snaps. And the whole time I'm doing this, I want to try and keep the cables out of the way. That makes it a little easier to organize, a little easier to get parts in. And then at the end, I can tie them up and get them all kind of cleared out. And we're back. So I didn't mention earlier, before I get started on the next part, the class build is going to be a Core i7 3880 processor, and the processor in this is a Core i5 2500K. So the same socket, so functionally no different. I mean, aside from the fact that it's a faster processor. But anyway, so this is the power to the PCI. Some PCIe video cards will have an 8-slot power, and some have 6-slot. This one is 6-slot. If it were 8-slot, once again, with this power supply, I can just snap these together, and I can't find the catch, but anyway, these just snap together, so it makes it 8-pin. But I only need 6, so once again, I'm going to find the square hole and just match them up, and apparently I need this one. Try this again. There we go. And just pop that in there. And once again, try and do what I can to make sure these cables are out of the way. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and connect my audio and my USB, and it's labeled on the motherboard which is USB and where they go, but just in case it wasn't, you can see where the pins, I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but there's a one that's not, there's not a pin there, and you can see the audio right here where that missing pin is. So just make sure that's seated really well. And then for USB, once again, there's a pin missing right there on the corner, and you just find where these jumpers that say USB, and I don't know if you can see that real well with the camera, but you just match up where that missing jumper is, and push it down, and there you go. I do need to make sure I connect the right jumper. So there we go. Alright, so next I'm going to supply power to my optical drive and my hard drives. So I've got these cables here. I'll try and get this out of the way. And these are all SATA power, so I just need to find the right SATA power connectors. These would be Molex 4-pin and SATA slimline. And what's nice about this power supply is these cables are all made so that I can use one cable, and I can, if it'll reach, the next cable can actually go down to the next peripheral, which it won't on that one, but this one will. And make sure that's going to be facing the right direction. I'll put this down underneath here. And push that on until it's tight. Double check this one. And then I'm going to need, because that one won't reach, I'm going to need one more saddle. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is connect the power to my other hard drive. And this cable is just long enough to do that. I'm just going to have a little extra. I'm just going to tuck down here and get it out of the way. And the reason I did the power first is because all of the power connectors are on the bottom if the case is sitting like this. So it's much easier to do the power first and then connect the SATA cables than to do it the other way around and have to fight around the SATA cables. So once again, you just find the little notch, and apparently I have this facing the wrong direction. So do a little bit of twisting here, or see if one of these has it in the right spots. This one does, so look at this one. Just pop it on there, and push it in until it's got a good fit, and once again we'll do our best to get the cable out of the way. And I'll be tying all these up before I'm done. So, alright. The next thing I want to do is, if you look inside the case over here, I have two 80mm case fans. The class build will actually have a liquid cooling kit, which will basically have a block that goes over the heatsink, and it'll have a tube going to the video card that runs the liquid coolant. So I'm going to connect the CPU power, or the CPU fan power real quick. That just goes right up there. I'm going to make sure this cable gets well out of the way, because I don't want to get caught on that fan when it starts spinning. So the case fans are connected by Molex connectors, once again, 4-pin. And you just find the male connector, and it's got a D shape to it, so you just turn it the right direction and push them together until they snap in. And then another nice thing about this power supply is great. It's got these snaps, or these clips, so that if you want to remove like a Molex connector, you have to actually hold the clips in and it'll pop out. But if you don't hold those clips down, it locks it in place. So you don't have to worry about anything pulling those apart. So I need one more Molex connector, and slip those together. There we go. I'll put these out here for right now. Alright, so next I'm going to connect my SATA cables. I believe there's one that's longer than the others, but maybe not. Okay. Set these over here. One's got to go to the optical drive. I have 4 SATA ports on the motherboard. So I'm going to connect one up here. It has a little notch on it. Oh, sorry. It has a little notch on it right there, where that way you can make sure you're putting it in the right direction. And these SATA cables also have a clip on them, so that when you try to pull them out, you have to push that clip down or they lock in place. Alright, so once again I want to find that little notch and put this right here. I don't know how well you can see down there. You heard that snap in place. And then this cable does not have those clips, so and make sure that notch is in the right place. Just pop that on. put this one back here, so that way it gives me more space for the third one. That one there. And this cable down here. So now I have all of the parts in place. Everything's connected. So my next concern is going to be airflow. So what I'm going to do is kind of pull all these cables away from the edges as much as possible. And if I can, I will put them up in, like these SATA cables, I can put them up here inside of the bays so that they're not in the way. And then these power cables here, gather them up. That there. And I'm just going to take these all, put them in a little bundle here. And these are all flat cables, so this is pretty easy to do. It's a lot easier than if you had rounded cables. They take up a lot more space. So let's twist this bread tie up. I've got a nice little bundle there. That keeps the majority of the cables out of the way. There's still a few kind of floating around here. My next priority with the cables is make sure that they're not going to hit any fans, which I think I'm all right on that aspect. So that is my computer build. I'll run through the components of the case build really quick. The case, or the class build, I'm sorry. The case is a Thermaltake VN700. It's a full ATX, which this is also a full ATX. The power supply in the class build is a Xeon AXP 850 watt modular power supply. That is also a 50 watt modular power supply. That's a Thermaltake. The motherboard is a Gigabyte GA Z77X. It has an LGA 1155 socket, 2 external SATA ports, 3 PCI Express X16 slots, and 6 USB 3.0 ports, where this motherboard has no external SATA, 1 PCI Express slot, and 8 USB ports. The CPU in the class build is a Intel Core i7-3770K, 3.5 gigahertz quad-core processor with an 8 megabyte cache. This is a Core i5 2500K at 3.3 gigahertz with a 6 megabyte cache. The RAM in the class build is 16 gigabytes of DDR3 Patriot Viper 3 at 1866 megahertz. This is 8 gigabytes of DDR3. It's Patriot, but I don't remember the speed or the actual model number. The storage in the class build will be a 1.5 terabyte Seagate Barracuda 7200 RPM drive, HDD, and then a Samsung 830 series 128 gigabyte solid state drive, which once again the operating system will be the only thing installed on that. Video cards on the class build will be 2 NVIDIA GeForce GTX 680s, which each have 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM, whereas this is a GeForce GTX 550 with 1 gigabyte of GDDR5 RAM. And the cooling will be a Coolants EXT440CU liquid cooling system, whereas this is all fans and air cooling. So there's my build. Thank you very much.